My name is Vinny. I'm actually an emerging talent lead here at HubSpot. So that means I lead all of our programs for entry-level and intern recruiting here at HubSpot. And so I'm excited to be here with all of you to host today's Women in Sales Masterclass to help you learn some great things about how to enter a path in sales, learn more about sales at HubSpot, meet some great people here as well on the sales team, and all that good stuff in between. So with that, I'm very excited because, when I think about it, you don't really see spaces like this, right? Tell me in the chat or in person here, have you ever seen like spaces that are just for, for, I almost said us women, but I'm an ally, but like for us, for our type of community, do you see spaces like this often? How about in the chat? I also have the chat here as well, so I can see everybody's responses here. Do you see that as well? I heard, in case folks couldn't hear, because I think they all can hear us, just so you know. So, yes. But yeah, you don't see that much as well. So I think that is actually pretty symptomatic of what we see in today's world. So I am just so happy to be here with all of you. Yes, as an ally, but also to provide a space like this, because when you think about the sales industry and even in tech, a couple things are true right now. First of which is the sales industry is, it has like the third largest gender gap in the world. So, well, not in the world, in America specifically. But in tech, it's actually worse. All right, and so there's lower representation when it comes to women in the tech sales world. And so there's that lack of representation that's very true still today in 2025. And sales has been around for a long time, as you probably can gather. And then the other challenge that's also currently in our world right now is that many saleswomen struggle to find like people that can inspire them, that can coach them throughout their career journey in sales. And so to make sure that we can sort of at least give some solution, right, to give you some steps forward to help address some of these challenges, that is why we have today's masterclass, to hopefully get us one step further in that journey. So that's why for today, I'm hoping to help you accomplish two things for our learning objectives for today. One of which is to practice, well, to know for sure, and practice some desired skills and mindset needed to really start a path in sales. And I'm so excited to have a lot of folks today, including the folks that you see next to me, who have lived this path and are excited to impart some words of wisdom, advice, experience, and everything in between with you. And we're gonna have a space to practice that together in this room, both yes, in person and online. And this is also a chance for you to get to know each other, expand your network of people, because yes, you will meet a lot of people in the world of sales today through some of your sales leaders here at HubSpot, but also with each other. All right, so because this is the next generation of women in sales right now. You might not know it right now, but you could be, and you'll hopefully remember this moment a year or two from now. So with that, those are my two goals for today, and should be your intentions for today too. And as we go through today, it's gonna be, it looks like a lot, but it's actually gonna breeze right by for the next couple hours. Because right now we're in our kickoff. So I'm gonna just make sure we share the agenda, set us up for a really great afternoon, and introduce a couple of my peers who are gonna kick off the afternoon. We'll then have some folks trickle in throughout the afternoon. We have some folks that are gonna tell you some of their experience about how to succeed as a BDR, a business development representative. If you don't know what that is okay, we'll talk about that. We'll take a little bit of a break too, so this way you have a chance to stretch, to stand, breathe, get some water, wherever you are. And then the next thing on the agenda is probably gonna be one that's like, oh my God, do I have to do this in sales? Yes, you do. This is something that, that is actually, looks like a very scary skill to learn in the world of sales, but I'm so excited to have some pros joining us to help demystify and make this, what looks like a very intimidating skill, be much more approachable. Especially as all of you think about this as part of your path. And then at the end, we'll do some closing words and some chance to connect a little bit more. So what do we think? Does that sound okay for today? Yeah? Okay, so just in case though, just to make sure we set ourselves up for a really great afternoon, a couple things I wanna do, which is set some ground rules and also just take care of some housekeeping things. So these are some rules that I'd love to have us adhere to, follow, commit to, just to make sure that we can have a really great afternoon together. So these are the 4 things I have on the screen right now. So being present first in whatever way feels natural to you. So whether that means emoting on Zoom, talking in the chat, nodding here in person with me, raising your hand, asking questions, whatever it means for you to really feel present in our space, please do so. The other is participate, again, in a way that makes sense to you. So again, if it's in the chat, if it's raising your hand, continuing discussion, please do. And the last 2 are gonna be the ones that are probably gonna feel unnatural, but like are gonna be ways that are gonna push us in a really great way. The first of which is be vulnerable, because a lot of the skills that we're gonna be going through today are probably gonna feel, like unnatural to us because we don't do this in our everyday. And we're gonna be talking about things that we don't normally do in our day to day. So I would encourage us all to really just step out of our comfort zones, just for like a little bit. I promise we're not gonna judge you. You're not in an interview right now. Maybe you're not. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're not. Okay. So this is a safe space, and so what we ask is that step outside your comfort zone, and we will support you in doing so. And then last but not least, ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question, and I'm happy to give feedback if people are not going to support each other with questions. But no, I'm kidding. But no, we want to make sure we give you time to ask questions in a way that makes you comfortable, and also making sure that you're following along throughout the afternoon. Okay. Question for everybody. Are there any other rules we want to set together to make sure we have a great intention for today? And I'm looking in the chat as well in case folks want to talk.
Yeah. Have fun.
Have fun. Yes, that's a good one. Here, we're gonna put that on here. Yes, have fun. Cool. What other ones do we want to add? And Zoom folks, I'm also looking at the chat just to make sure. That's a great one. What was your name again? Amber?
Amber.
Amber, perfect. Thank you. Cool. Any others we want to add?
New friends.
Make new friends. We love that. Yes, 100%. Love that. Network. Yes, make new friends, network. We're gonna group those together. Love it. Let's take one more. Amber.
I love this word in my sales classes. Be curious.
Be curious. Love it. So I'm gonna group that in with ask questions and be curious, just because I'm running out of space. Cool. All right. Love that. I think this is gonna be great just to give us like a core group of ground rules for us to ground ourselves on. So love that. Cool. All right. Thank you all so much for that. That was great. And then the last thing we'll talk about is housekeeping. So just in case, for the rest of the afternoon, I'm gonna give some housekeeping for folks in person and then on Zoom. So first off, where are the bathrooms? At home, you all know where your bathrooms are, so I would hope so. If not, I can try to help you from here, but no promises. But for folks here in the Cambridge office, the bathrooms are to the left of the ramp that you saw as you came in. So if you get lost, don't feel free to ask us. We're happy to help you. And then same with water or coffee. Folks at home, I hope you have access to water or coffee. If you don't, please do. Grab some while we're here together. And then for folks here in the room, right outside these walls, this room, is a little kitchen/cafe. Feel free to make yourselves at home with the water and coffee that we have. What's ours is yours for the afternoon. And then last but not least, can I stand? You don't have to stay sitting at home or here the whole time. If you want to stand, please feel free. I might stand here and there too because I've been sitting all day, especially in a car, because I commuted from Providence, Rhode Island to our Cambridge, Massachusetts office here. So I was in a car for like an hour and a half. No, thank you. No, don't applaud me. No, it's just normal, right? Especially if folks are in California right now in the chat or watching this recording backwards, you're gonna be like, an hour is nothing. But anyway, but yes, so you can stand however you'd like. We won't be offended. I might do that from every now and then. Cool. Any other questions from our Zoom folks or folks in the room to make sure we have time? Yes.
Like if we needed to go to the bathroom or like grab water or coffee, like should we like say anything or should we just
No.
like?
We are adults here. If you need to go to the bathroom, grab stuff, do so. You don't need a hall pass or anything. Do folks know what hall passes are? That's okay. Never mind. Anyway, but cool. Yeah, great question. Evie? Ezzy. Cool. Any other questions from the folks here in the room or in Zoom? Cool. All right. Then without further ado, are we ready to get started? Because I'm going to stop talking and give ourselves a chance to meet some other folks that are not me. Good? Yeah. I know. I spent literally half an hour finding gifts, so I did get paid to do that while making this. So without further ado, I'm so excited to welcome our first group of guests for this afternoon. And I want to thank so much Emma and Catherine for joining us. And I'm going to actually throw the mic first to Emma to introduce yourself and to kick us off. So Emma, welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vinny, for putting this together. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining, trekking through the rain to get here. Really, really excited for this event. We haven't done something like this in a couple of years. And I am the senior director for the BDRs in the Americas, so oversee all of our North America and Latin America BDR teams. I actually started in the BDR organization here at HubSpot about 10 years ago.
Woo!
Moved into a sales role, then into BDR leadership. Was one of our first BDR managers in the US and now have a team of 20 managers. So our org has grown a ton over the last 5 years. And you're going to hear from some amazing women in my organization today, learn a ton from them. I think Vinny set up fantastic ground rules and you guys did a great job contributing to it. Piece of advice that I would give you, you're not being interviewed right now. Like, this is a learning environment. Learning can feel uncomfortable sometimes, totally okay to ask any questions, be curious, engage. Cold calling's hard and weird sometimes. So if it's your first time practicing it, like don't worry about it. Ask questions. Just have fun learning today. Other piece of advice I'd given that it's a female audience, I've noticed in my 10 years working in tech sales that we do tend to suffer a bit more from imposter syndrome. And oftentimes there will be men in the room who speak up with incredible confidence, even if what they're saying makes no sense. So
Truth.
this is a friendly audience. Don't feel like you need to hold back and like calculate or really think through, like totally, even if it's not fully processed in your head, totally okay to ask questions today. We really want to make sure you get a lot out of this and learn a ton about a sales career here at HubSpot.
Yay. Thanks, Emma, so much for joining us. What a great journey, y'all. Like, and I've been here for about 7 years here at HubSpot and have been through the growth alongside Emma, and I'm so fortunate to have been able to be there on this rocket ship with her. So, so great. Hi, Catherine. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, guys. Funny enough, Emma, oh yeah, perfect. I can see some slides. Emma interviewed me 4 years ago when I joined HubSpot. So, and we both had the same photos sent. So I think we need to update our pictures. That was from 2019.
Headshots.
One of my reps on my team this week was like, "Oh, that's your picture," and I was like, "Yeah, I know it's old. It's about 6 years old. So need to get a new headshot." But anyways, great to see you all and all on Zoom. I've got a few things I want to go through today. Not as long as Emma's 10 years, but I've been at HubSpot for about 4. And just kind of want to walk you through my experience over the past 4 years so you guys can maybe get a sense of like what a journey in a sales career could look like. Everyone's is a little bit different, but I did start at HubSpot right out of college. So maybe similar to a lot of you looking to go into sales positions. Sounds like some of you have had some sales classes and things like that. So that's really awesome. I did not have that in undergrad. And so kind of found my way to HubSpot in maybe a more non-traditional path. So I actually was working at an internship in college that they were using a competitor product of ours called Microsoft Dynamics, and they were evaluating HubSpot, which is how I got introduced to HubSpot in the first place. And then I found in learning about HubSpot, they were running this program at the time called which is the second line here, the HubSpot Sales Skills Builder. I think it was program for students, which I joke with Vinny, wherever he is now, that was a very funny name to give a program, quite hard to say. Similar to this, but it's actually like at the time a much longer program where you got to meet different leaders and kind of got a little bit of a just insight into what it looked like to work in a tech sales company. And that's how I got introduced to HubSpot. Interviewed my senior year and came into HubSpot in our business development role right out of college. So I graduated in May from Loyola, Maryland, and moved back up here and started the job in the office in August that year, which was kind of like in the midst of COVID craziness. We came in sometimes, but not all the time at that point. So yeah, I was a BDR for a year and a half-ish. You're gonna hear a lot more from the BDR team today. Again, that stands for Business Development Representative. Essentially booking meetings for our mid-market sales team. From there, I moved into our small business account executive role. So that was actually like a full sales cycle. I'm selling to what HubSpot calls small businesses. So that's like 1 to 25 employees in our case. You'll notice if you talk to other tech companies, everyone defines those brackets a little bit differently. Like what we consider small business, other techs might consider like, I guess maybe very small business. I don't know, a smaller segment of that. And then, yeah, in January of this year, I just moved into a sales manager role. So now I have a team of 8 reps. And I actually asked them for some feedback before we all met today to give you guys some advice on their position and how they got to where they were or ideas they had of things they liked about sales, or maybe advice they'd have for you. So that's what we're gonna go through here. I actually asked my team, they're called the Sand Sharks. My last name is Sanders, and so everyone at HubSpot's sales team has like a fun team name. So ours is the Sand Sharks. I wanted it to be Sand Dollars, and they didn't like that. So it's Sand Sharks, which is equally as good. So when I asked them, and to give you some perspective, this is a group of folks that have been in sales for maybe one or two positions before HubSpot, or they came into HubSpot sales right from our BDR org. So everyone's kind of like earlier in their sales career. And what they had shared, a few things that they really liked about sales were room for creativity. And this is actually one of the things I'm going to go through too, but I think this is very true. Every sale looks a little bit different, and so you can really shine through in your relationships you build with prospects and customers, and that's typically what makes a sale go so well. People want to buy from people they trust, and so I really like this first one that my rep Scott had shared. The other one that I think is really awesome is from a mom on my team that said, flexibility and financial incentives to give my kids adventures I didn't have growing up. I think that's, I know, I almost cried. Maybe I did. I think that's so fair. And I think a lot of people, maybe women especially, sometimes will shy away from in an interview saying like money is a motivator for you. That's why a lot of people are in sales. Most people are in sales for that reason. So it's okay to say that. Maybe that's not your only reason of why you want to be in sales, but the ability to have an impact on how much money you make is, I would say, maybe the biggest benefit of working in a sales career. So feel free to say that and include that. And when someone asks you, like, why are you interested in a career in sales? When I asked them for some advice, this first one might not make too much sense, so I'll explain it. They said, don't put pressure on yourself to be a P Club rep when you start. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback, afraid to fail. Essentially, you want to be making consistent improvements over time. P Club, does anyone heard of President's Club before? That means maybe, yeah. So President's Club is like one of the many perks of working in a tech sales company. Not just tech sales, but a lot of tech sales companies have basically a reward they give their top performing reps. And so that is a vacation. You go on a vacation with other top performers. And so that's usually what you're running after for the year is like, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, what was the P Club this year?
So it's to Budapest. Me and Emma are going to Budapest.
Yes, you are.
So very cool. Last year was Bahamas.
Next year's
Hawaii. So it's a big incentive, right? It's like you and a +1 get to go on this trip to Europe, so cool.
All expenses paid.
All expenses paid.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a reason to overperform for sure. Beyond that, overperforming also makes you more commission. So it's kind of what are we trying to say?
Win-win.
Win-win
Mhm.
situation. But this rep is saying like, you not always are you going to become that amazing rep from the jump. Like everyone has a transition period, a learning period. You're not going to perfect it day one. I tell my reps all the time, even my most successful reps are the most successful reps are ones that want to improve and master their craft and work on their skill every single day. Not the ones who are like, yeah, I've got this all figured out, because no one has it all figured out. Sales is a craft, a skill, not something you're just gonna know or not know. The other one was be a sponge, get ready to learn so much, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Fail fast and find a mentor. I think these are all really great and kind of lead into my kind of top 3 tips for success. I liked what you had shared about curiosity, consistency, and creativity. Didn't mean for them all to be C's, but that worked out well for my presentation here.
I love alliteration.
Yeah,
and
it's easy to remember.
abbreviation.
C's, you can.
Yes, we have a lot of acronyms. But yeah, curiosity, I think goes in a setting like this. Honestly, putting yourself out there and coming to this today, whether you're online or here in person, like just being at the table is something you're doing for yourself to improve your own sort of understanding of the role, or even just to get ideas of like what you like or don't like about a position like this. So I think being curious in all these settings, asking questions, a lot of times in the sales role, that actually looks like really not just stopping asking when you think you have an answer, but continuing to dig and ask more questions and be more curious about what does this business do? Why do they do that? They're looking to grow. Why are they looking to grow? What are those targets they're looking to hit? And how does that impact the individual person? People all buy from people, so yes, they may be looking for a CRM, but why is that team looking for a CRM and how is that gonna impact the person who's buying it? Consistency, I say this to my reps every single day. Consistency is key. You need to put, a lot of what sales is about is putting the right inputs in, right? We can't control everything. We can't make somebody buy HubSpot, but I can put in the right inputs of prospecting, reaching out to accounts, and influencing that sales process to give myself a higher chance that they would buy. So what you can control is those inputs, and that's where consistency matters. And then last thing is creativity. One of my reps said this, but I think it's so true. Bring your personality to this kind of event, to your prospecting, to your cold calling. No one wants to hear just a canned, script about why someone should book a meeting with us. That creativity matters, and in this very crowded market of email marketing and getting a million LinkedIn requests, if you can do something to stand out, then you're in a better position than the person next to you. So, yeah, that's all I have. Go.
Amber had a question.
I do have a question for you guys, because you both started as BDRs in that role. So we take a class at Bentley, there's like a professional sales program, and you have to take sales management as well as like effective selling, sales strategy. So what do you like, or how would you describe the difference between being a rep and managing sales reps?
I
Did you
can
miss
start,
it?
sure, yeah.
Did you miss anything about it,
Yeah, that's a good question. They are two entirely separate jobs, which I am learning now as someone I'm only been a manager for 4 months now. But as a seller, your job is to make the business money, right? That's your direct impact. My job as a manager is to make the business money through managing my team. And so a lot of that is coaching, personal development, professional development, sometimes therapy. Everyone has a bad day, right? Like you need to talk to somebody. But I'm not actually selling in my role. So that's not the case with every company. Sometimes managers will still be sellers, but in my role, I don't sell. I just coach my team up to being good sellers at HubSpot.
And do you hop on calls and stuff with them?
Closing calls sometimes, yeah, for our new hires, when they're looking for training and things like that. But at a tech company like HubSpot, we have cool tools like Gong, if anyone's heard of that. It records every single call. So they can go back and listen to calls. So that's where they get a lot of their training too. Good question.
What I would say is there's a lot of people in our BDR organization who develop into sales managers and coaches. I think everyone you're gonna hear from today actually started as a BDR and are all leaders today. My recommendation to everyone is always go get at least a year of selling experience under your belt before becoming a coach or a leader. It opens up a ton of doors, and it's a really like big advantage to building trust and coaching team members when you've been in their shoes and have succeeded in the role. One of the best things about the BDR program at HubSpot, in my opinion, is there's a lot of clarity in the promotion path. So some companies don't have a path at all into a closing role. Some companies, it's really, there's a lot of ambiguity in like, how do you go from being a BDR to a closer? HubSpot, not surprisingly, ton of transparency in what does it take to move up as a BDR, step into a closing role. And I think then from there, there's, to Catherine's point, there's two really distinct paths, and a lot of people will continue up through our sales org as individual contributors and high performers. A lot of people will sell for a couple of years and then move into leadership roles. You have another
That was
question?
sort of my question, like how long does it take to become a BDR to be a leader, like usually about?
You sold for a year and a half, 2 years?
2 years. So I was a BDR for a year and a half, which is that still standard? A year and a half to
Yeah.
2 years-ish.
Yeah.
And then I was a seller for 2 years. Most of the time, you're not really like, not to say you're not eligible, but frankly, like you probably want to sell for that period before you feel comfortable managing a team doing that. Especially if that's like, you've never managed before. That's when I felt ready. But not everyone, if you're like, I don't want to be a manager, that's fine. A lot of people will, instead of being a manager, go up to our mid-market org or then our corp org. So start selling larger deals to larger companies.
Yeah.
I would say at least I don't know
The
how often people do it.
fastest would be a year.
Yeah.
Ilana, who you'll hear from later today, sold
Oh,
for a
right.
year and is now managing a BDR team.
I don't know if you guys are gonna go into this later when we talk about BDR, but can you tell us more about the training process of like when you start as a BDR?
Parnika! Insert Parnika.
Whole section.
Now we'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
My name's Parnika. I am the Ramp Acceleration Manager for all the BDRs in our AMER segment. So if you become a BDR and you decide to take that journey, you spend your first 2 months at HubSpot with me. I was a BDR myself, so we have a training program that's built where you get exposure to all different managers and myself, and we will take you through BDR. I don't believe in teaching BS, so we will very much teach you like the core fundamental skills you need to be successful in the role. We don't just toss you into the fire. We'll hang out, we'll spend some time together and teach you all the fundamentals. And I'm pretty involved in the first 6 months that you're a BDR to make sure that you feel really good about your journey and you have another touch point outside your manager and mentor to get the skills that you need to be a top performer.
Good question.
Magic.
He is.
Such a
We'll hang
angel.
out. I was just with my new hires.
Love it. It's so funny. We like segued into the question part. So, so thank you all for those questions. And oh, Amber left. I was like looking at her, and there's no one sitting there. Oh my gosh. But Catherine, is there anything else you want to add to your welcome?
I think that was all. Yeah, I would just say like, thanks to all of you for being here. Like, being at these kinds of events is such a great opportunity for you to learn about tech sales, learn about sales in general, to meet new people. And I think, just showing up today is really awesome. So appreciate everyone's time. And yeah, there's some good sessions coming up.
And connect with us on LinkedIn if you don't have a chance to ask the questions that you had today.
Yeah.
Send a LinkedIn request. Feel free to ask questions there. Happy to continue the conversation.
Love it. And we have a few minutes still, so I'd love to see if anyone else has questions for Emma and Catherine before we head to our next session. I saw one in the chat from Stephanie, so I'm going to ask it here out loud. Thank you for your question, Stephanie. Have you always been in tech sales, or did you transition from a different industry? If so, well, let me ask that. Have you been in tech sales, or did you transition from another industry?
I transitioned from another industry, so I was an economics major in school, did internships in finance and wealth management. Did that my first summer after graduating and very quickly decided that was not what I wanted to do with my life. So then I actually did a really drastic pivot and worked in the fashion industry for a small brand in New York City. I was their first hire, working with 2 female founders, and got exposed to a bit of everything there. Did sales, did marketing, was like sitting in on design meetings. It was very interesting. But I have always been financially motivated and realized after like 2 years that I was not going to hit my financial goals in that career. And one of my college best friends, who was one of my roommates at the time in New York City, was working in tech sales. And that's what gave me exposure to the industry and the possibility. And so I happened to be moving to Boston from New York and doing a lot of research on places to work if you wanted to start in tech sales. And HubSpot has a phenomenal reputation for that training program and development, which is, I set that as my first choice and then stalked people until they hired me.
A true BDR.
And here you are. Yes. Please don't cold call me on my cell phone. I will take questions on LinkedIn.
What about you, Catherine?
Yeah, I started right out of college, but I did have some other internships in college that one was healthcare, one was insurance, and then another one was tech. But I quickly found out the insurance and the healthcare were not for me. Those were marketing roles, but just very more like outdoor for these companies specifically, a little bit more like outdated kind of industries. We're not using tech. I was an information systems and marketing major in college, and that's one thing I appreciate about HubSpot is our product changes a lot, but also just like how we work as a company changes and kind of keeps up with, I would say, like industry trends more than maybe something like a healthcare kind of company. So for me, I was excited to go into tech space.
Love it. And there's a part B to the question. Emma, you actually started answering this already, which was what helped you make that pivot successfully? And you talked about stalking people, Emma, until you got the
Tons
job.
of research,
Mhm.
like, don't underestimate research. Like, I did a lot of research on the HubSpot product. I signed up for a free instance. I watched demos. I reached out and chatted with people who are in the job. Like, we have a really friendly team of BDRs. So look for BDRs on LinkedIn and set up a chat with them and learn about their day-to-day and what makes them successful. Read our customer testimonials. Like, if you're going to be in sales, you want to really believe in the product that you're selling. And so I was looking at companies where I really felt like these were interesting, compelling products that I would be excited about talking to businesses about leveraging.
And then you would add, Catherine, to what you said earlier?
I don't think so. I think just like giving yourself exposure to these different types of companies, whether that's in internships or, this is something I guess I did kind of, but internships, it doesn't always have to be internships though. I would say even like projects you work on in class or, maybe experiences like this, like, I think sometimes it's like, oh, you have to have an internship in X to be good at this, and I just really don't feel like that's the case. When in one of my interviews with HubSpot, I remember one of my stories I told, and maybe that's another part of this, is like how to tell good stories in an interview. But one of them was based on a project I did in one of my classes. It wasn't a paid internship, it was just a project we did in one of the semesters. So I would say feel free to lean on experiences that maybe apply or are applicable to the role you're looking at, even if you didn't have an internship in that space.
+1 to the experiences too. Put this on your resume. This looks great on a resume. Catherine did that.
Skills.
For this one that she did.
Yeah, you missed
Exactly.
that. I put down the photo.
Not my finest moment, it's fine. I didn't have ChatGPT.
I like it.
Thank you. So Stephanie, did that help? Cause I know that was a really great question. And she says, I really appreciate the insight. Now I just need to, oh, I love this part. I just need to channel my inner tech queen and dive in. Fake it till I make it, right? Yes, Stephanie, love it. Great question. I think we're ready to move on to the next one, right? Cause, do you have to get going? Yeah, up to you.